This podcast is part of the Big Heads Media Podcast Network. Go to bigheadsmedia.com for more great podcasts.
Hello, and welcome to Body Count, the podcast where we believe history doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes, and a proud member of the Big Heads Podcast Network. We're here to show you don't hate history, you just hate the way it was taught to you. Only rule, when we choose a topic, someone, or is usually the case, a lot of someone's died. We give you the series of events in a narrative fashion, and by the end, correlate said story with current events. I'm not PBS Ken Burns or Dan Carlin. If you want a Hoover-esque Just the Facts Ma'am history podcast, we're not going to be for you, i.e. there will be analysis, opinions. This is not a lecture. My opinions are my own. Know that I hold my co-hosts verbally hostage. Direct your hate at me, folks, where it belongs. Now, it said tragedy plus time equals comedy. No, we giggle at some occasionally rough subject matter. We're not actively trying to offend anyone. You've been warned. If you're okay with that entire spiel, I am the host of this show, Jessica Manor, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Bethany.
Skelton.
Oh. Oh.
Bethany Skelton at your presence, sir.
At your service, sir. So much Matt Berry that I've watched just coming out, and you can tell. As always, a lot to get to today. First, housekeeping. We are a part of the Big Heads Podcast Network, a great collection of podcasts. We're super excited. Please go check them out on social media, everyone, at Big Heads Media on Twitter and bigheadsmedia.com. If you love the show, please go and give us, no, I'm not asking, I'm telling, go and give us those 5 stars on iTunes or wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. You can say whatever you want about us. It's not to make us feel good. We aren't complaining, but it does help us out on the business end. To that note, our Patreon is up and running. We have a growing number of things to go and check out there. We keep you updated via social media, so be sure to follow us, and we'll let you know where at the end of the show.
Yeah.
So, Bethany, how's it hanging?
Oh, it's hanging low and to the left.
I was going to say flipped up in the waistband on the right, but to each his own. To each his own.
Between everything going on with hurricanes down here and sickness there, and we start school Monday, like they go back to school. Thank God. Oh, yes. Take them. Send them.
That must be an amazing thought, because I have at least until November, and I doubt very seriously we go back then.
Yikes. Yeah, I'm basically going to be throwing them out the door. Like, bye! I have a full body massage scheduled for that day, and that's all I have planned. Well, probably. I can't get too drunk because I do have to pick them up. The bus does not come in our area, so I'm just excited that they're going to be gone.
Meanwhile, I'm just like trying to find a hobo to bribe so that I can go to a chiropractor's appointment. The joys of COVID. But I think everybody in the audience has probably experienced their own BS when it comes to COVID-19.
Yes. And actually, while during this COVID, I've been reading a lot of different books. But of course, not the same books as you. I'm reading like Harry Potter fan fiction right now.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it needed a heavenly chorus to the fact that you're reading. I don't give a shit what you read. But just out of curiosity, there's Harry Potter. Of course, there's Harry Potter fan fiction.
Yeah.
There's fan fiction for everything. Why does this not surprise me at all? There's fan fiction for Brokeback. It's called Brokeback Washington. Now, I've discussed this on many a posts and with many a person. The ladies over at Time Travel Talks being the ones, but Brokeback Washington.
Oh my God, I love it.
Bethany, 'tis erotic.
But you don't usually read those books, do you? You get like your kicks from like
Route 66.
I understood that reference.
Uh,
nerd. Got it, so I'm a nerd as well.
I think if you've lived on it, you know it, or anywhere been. Well, you've been there. You went to college with me. Duh. Why am I explaining this to you?
Nope.
But no, that I'm more of a Pornhub girl. I'm not gonna lie. I don't want to read.
You and me
I
both.
don't want to read my eroticism. I want to see it there, laid all out before me.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
And just for women. So, on that note, and I can't believe I said that, but it's already out of my mouth, and I'm not going to take it back.
Nope.
On the subject of reading, I was reading a book that is definitely not for everyone.
Probably
Secretly,
You
no.
just described.
Now, I wish it was Brokeback Washington, but it tends to be on the more academic side of reading because secretly I'm pretty boring in real life. And I have been reading and enjoying the fuck out of Women and Children First, 19th Century Sea Narratives and American Identity.
Oh, here comes the booing.
Yeah, I can hear it from the fans and listeners as well. It's one of those very unique forays into the women in history shtick that's going on with everybody right now. Not that it's a shtick, but like let's face it, a lot of people are capitalizing on it since Me Too. And though I notice in this book she omitted the obvious, death at sea might have been one of the less shitty ends of the female historical sticks, all things considered, you know, in a race to sound as clever as she undoubtedly is. She is very clever.
Okay, so she basically was saying like, it's this is
No, she's just talking about how shitty a lot of women at sea might have been, or unique perspectives, and it all kind of comes around to a massive thing. But as far as I'm concerned, drowning might have been one of the less shitty ways that women died in the 19th century.
because the women on the boats, they probably got raped repeatedly.
Some of them, yes, and that's definitely in there. Really, it is a pretty slick little exploration of shipwreck narratives and the ideals of American expansionism and manifest destiny by the Exploring Women and Children First directive. And she kind of steers it all the way around to the abolitionist movement, etc., etc. Don't let me droning about it in this less than enthusiastic way put you off of reading this book. It's actually really great if this is your thing.
Okay, so because you told me who we were talking about, but I tried to look it up, but I really wasn't finding anything. I really had no idea what we were doing.
That is because the only mentions I've found in it are the narrative written by the lady herself, and then this book mentions it.
Okay.
Like I said, though, talking about this book is not really what we do here on Body Count. I know a bunch of you are scared right now, bracing yourselves that I may become the most pretentious asshole in the room all of the sudden. And like I say in the introduction, I'm here to tell you a story. Don't worry, I'm disgusted with myself when I'm momentarily more pretentious than this on-air persona allows, if you will.
I'll call you out when you become too pretentious. Like there is a line. I'll be like, all right, just you're tiptoeing near the too pretentious.
You're getting on it. You're getting on it. I promise for the rest of this episode, I will not, and it will be blessedly devoid of words like American exceptionalism. We're here to drop bodies, after all, and extract the most surface of historical correlations. So this book is not what I'm going to talk about, but I feel like I have to kind of get around to how I stumbled onto this story.
Okay.
So back to our book, and what it boils down to, like I said, is the significance of seafaring and shipwreck narrative in American literature, history, and the news, which is what leads us to our story today. It's a little tale I came across Inside the Wonderful, Women and Children First by Robin. I assume that it's Miskulski.
Oh, okay.
Miskulsi? Miskulsi.
Miss
I don't
Cole.
know. Something vaguely Polish. Our story today is the tale of Miss Ann Sanders, which is really, really unusual. It's a super metal voyage across the Atlantic.
Okay, so is it Ann Saunders or On Sanders?
I assume it's Ann Sanders. I don't know why I said it so. On. Oh, the lady on. I don't know why it came out that way.
But wouldn't it be Son because it's Saunders?
Saunders. Ann Saunders. We're going to call her that.
And
Saunders. And Saunders. And Saunders. Miskulsi led me to a narrative of the shipwreck and suffering of Miss Ann Saunders from way back in 1827. And wow, guys, this is a fun one this week. And I use fun loosely, not exactly fun, but definitely some like hardcore Donner Party feels. Everyone's done the Donner Party, right? To the point that cannibalism has become boring in my eyes. But this tale sort of revived the horror for me when recounted by such a genteel subject as Anne.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's her perspective that kind of the horror back to cannibalism. So not only that, it's just a kind of unique look into women kicking it at sea in the 19th century, which many a scholar has deemed too insignificant to jot down. Shocker. That, or maybe it's because our vaginas were deemed to be unlucky on a ship at the time. Isn't that like an old sailor thing, though? Like, can't have women at sea?
Yeah.
Or they be bad luck? I don't know. I really don't know. I could be making that up. I assume I'm not. So I can prep us for this all day long. But I'm just going to let this story speak for itself. So it's a small body count today of just 15, but it is a super metal 15, Bethany.
We're going to make it 15. We're going to make it 15.
Yeah, that's the kind of 15 that this is going to be. So again, I just wanted to prep everybody. I want to tell you it's a hard story to come by. You might not find it in a cursory Google search, but I'm going to put the sources in the show notes just because I want everybody to find it as well. It's something else.
And
Saunders. So are you ready, Bethany?
Yeah, let's get it.
Let's get it. Let's do it. Sorry, guys. I have to light my tale-telling cigar.
Oh, and I got to pop open this fresh beer.
Oh, now it is the body count zone.
Yes.
Everybody that joins us for Potaskews Get Vocal is always like, oh, you're so intoxicated. And I'm like, this is not as drunk as what I do our show. I just have bullet points there. This way, I just have to talk out of my ass and it becomes more apparent.
We try to maintain some form
I try to have a loose script for my nonsense. I think that's the best way.
Professional. We really do. We kind of sort of we get the job done. Okay.
We strive for the lowest level of professionalism here at Body Count. Okay. So It is the winter of 1826.
Yikes.
And we're popping in on a young English woman, Anne Saunders, as she skips up a gangway to board a ship sailing from New Brunswick, Canada to Liverpool. Now, we can talk all day about how shit it would be to cross the Atlantic back at that time, but I think we all know it would suck.
Yes.
Universally.
Suck.
Oh, yeah. Like, oh, God. BDSM sucks. So, that said, sweet little Anne is looking forward to her voyage as the journey over to New Brunswick had apparently been a freaking delight.
Oh.
And I assume Anne was just down to get out of the house, maybe a stray wind caught at her skirts and she accidentally showed a little ankle, wicked 19th century thrill style, like she was just having a time on the way over. Show an ankle, talking to lower class sailors. I mean, she was just living on the edge. So that's what she's expecting on the way back. So,
Right.
of the 21 people on board, including Anne's little gal pal and the captain's wife, Miss Kendall, set sail with an apparently like rockin' wind headed in the right direction. Everyone was expecting some serious garden party at sea action.
Like, can I have some tea and crumpets? Oh, parasols.
Yeah, like I was thinking cucumber sandwiches. No, Aunt Augusta. There are no cucumbers, not even for ready money. And the little party and the sailors were living the charmed life for all of 3 days.
3 days. So how long does it, back then, how long did it take? Because I know
I wish I knew the answer to that question, and I do not. I'm going to assume
3 days already. You just said charmed life for 3 days. I
I'm
wouldn't
going to
want to
assume couple weeks, like, it's 1826. I could Google it, but I'm not gonna. Just know it takes a while.
cruise that hopped from island to island.
You can't exactly pop a steamer and go across the Atlantic. So, first day of February rolls around, because remember, this is 1826, folks. So, first day of February rolls around, and the garden party vibes become more the perfect storm vibes by noon. So, the Francis Mary gets slammed by a truly ferocious storm, sweeping not only every movable object from the deck, but to our very genteel Anne's horror, one of the mariners went overboard as well. Lucky for him, he was saved from the water by his fellows, but that would be the last bit of good news Anne was to have for some time. So buckle up, listeners, because this is the point at which our tale starts to become metal AF.
Well, damn, you kind of got me, and I was like, oh, wow. So the rock in the boat, a man went overboard, but they all saved him.
They save him. The theme I want to emphasize before we get further in this story is this is a group of survivors. Remember how I said the Hyatt Regency people were what Destiny's Child wrote that song for? No. It's about some 1826 fervor right here. Remember, this is like pre-serious industrialization, guys. So the storm increases in intensity, tossing this poor ship around, snapping shit like matchsticks, and pitching the thing from peak to trough. So it's literally going all the way up, all the way down.
All the way up.
Yeah, it's getting real. So then Anne watched as a rando wave, like Dolph Lundgren style, punches a hole through the vessel. ripping away a portion of the hull. So
Yikes.
water starts gushing into the storage areas, threatening to drag the ship down like it was, like the interesting part of the movie of Titanic
Yeah.
when it sinks, where you wait 3 hours for the fucker to sink. So it's like that. And the Francis Mary, as a result, was already listing something fierce when another wave comes at her Pac-Man on Ghost Gobble Gobble style, right? So this wave, like Jean-Claude Van Damme style, kicks the Francis Mary in the ass and actually flips the vessel upward through to a full 45-degree angle. So imagine the terror at that. Everyone on board is clinging to the rigging and has to slowly and painstakingly pull themselves up to the forecastle like rock wall style climb, right? As the forecastle is now the only part of the ship that wasn't that was above the water line, that wasn't sunk below it, if you will. So the forecastle is like that up deck, kind of toward the front of the ship, if you will.
Okay.
You've got the below deck. So they climb up onto that. It's the only thing that's above the water line. So I can't stop.
I'm sorry. I just am picturing literally the Titanic movie, like how they survived. Well,
But the ship doesn't, no. The ship doesn't break apart, and they get to a part of the ship that's still floating.
Right. I know. I just, right. Like I'm imagining it in a different, like the way you're described, but I get it. Like of course the words that I want to say are not coming out, but yes, I get it.
Yeah, you get it. The ship still held, though, against all odds.
Crazy.
The Francis Mary didn't sink.
Wow.
So it stabilized finally at a very wonky angle in the water, but stabilize she did, bobbing like a cork in the rather heavy swell. Now, like I said, they've already rock wall climbed to safety and haven't lost people yet. These are some survivors. So several of the crew now make the desperate and, quite frankly, borderline suicidal attempt to dive down into the interior of the waterlogged ship to grab any and all provisions that they could lay hands on.
Well, I mean, you got to do what you got to do, right?
The theme of this story, Bethany, I'm glad that you've already centered in on the entire theme of the story from here on out. So, despite the clear and present danger, these industrious seamen were able to drag out 50 pounds of bread and biscuit and a few pounds of cheese. In true #Freddie foreshadowing style, I want to take the time to point out these people, again, all seem pretty willing to work together and have a powerful will to live. I also want to point out that while 50 some odd pounds sounds like a lot, it's precious little sustenance between 21 now shipwrecked people exposed to the elements in the dead in the water midwinter Atlantic Ocean.
Shit.
Yeah, I can't emphasize how not good this looks.
Who's dying first? The fat one. Who's the fattest?
The fatty. Therefore, it comes as no surprise that our passengers and our crew start to croak.
Right.
Now, James Clark was the first to kick the bucket on the 12th of February, so they just chunked him overboard at this point with some ceremony. Up next, a Mr. John Wilson, whose death just happens to coincide with the end of the biscuit rations.
Oh.
Uh-oh, Spaghetti-O is right. And this is the point at which the story takes a real turn. So there's a debate, a surprisingly short one when one considers just what our survivors are in fact debating. If you will remember, this far in the story, if anything is indicated, this is a crazy bunch of kids and they're all survivors, right?
One perfectly healthy, eatable man overboard.
Yep. Well, they still had biscuits and cheese. Still, despite all of this, they do take an uncomfortably short time to come to a pretty momentous decision, if you will. If they want to live, they best fall on this corpse of the freshly dead John Wilson like it is a Las Vegas buffet.
Oh, God, Jessica. Did you have to say Las Vegas? A Vegas buffet? Those are the biggest cons.
I'm gonna stop you right there because I say and intend to say, based on my notes, much more horrible things from this point forward. Which takes us back to Anne, who rather stoically, I might add, watches as everyone dismembers Wilson's corpse. They got it down into manageable chunks, KFC bucket of chicken style. In Anne's words, it was cut into slices, then washed with salt water.
Okay, okay.
Good, right? They're being hygienic, and that's the number one rule of corpse consumption.
Is there a handbook?
Is there a handbook? There should be. So they washed it in salt water. Proper preparation of a corpse.
Step 2, rinse in salt water. What's after that? What's after?
Then they wash it in salt water, and after being exposed to and dried a little in the sun, was apportioned. Yes, exactly like jerky. Was apportioned to each of the miserable survivors. Now, is that a statement or what?
You literally just created the handbook. Okay. This is you eat a human humanely.
You're going to want to rinse it in salt water, boiling, preferably if available, and you're definitely going to get a jerked texture to that raw human meat.
Step 1.
Think about that. They're eating raw human meat.
But it's been dried out like raisins or jerky. So step 1 is either, now here's the kicker. Did this person die of natural causes or did they murder him? Because this was the guy that was supposedly the person that was like the last night of rations or whatever. Like
supposedly he dies of natural causes. And I do believe that Anne's one of those primary sources, which we can take her word for it.
I mean,
because
she's telling how it is. Like
she's exactly how it is. When you read this narrative, it's how it is. Now, if you'll, I don't know how they hacked it up. I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
Okay, sorry.
It just said it was cut up and apportioned, and I chose to add my own flavor to that portion of the tail. Now,
that though, it's a human body. Like, wouldn't you get jealous if somebody got a calf and you got a finger? Like, that's
well, I assume they sliced the very thick parts off first. Because this is the flush of cannibalism, so they're really gonna get the chunkier, meatier portions,
right,
of food to eat.
It's just that you said they portioned it out, and I'm just trying to understand, how does one portion a human being for consumption?
Same way you do a pig or a cow.
Oh, God.
This is 1826. Most of these people here have slaughtered many of their own animals, right? So it's fundamentally no different.
Blech. Okay, yep, you're right.
Yep, I know I'm right. Mammal is mammal.
I can't gag, okay?
If you'll remember, our Anne was a lady and a rather delicate flower, okay?
I remember.
Right. So, right at that moment, she couldn't bring herself to join in the Kentucky Fried Corpse,
So come on, it's a finger licking Kentucky Fried Chicken, a finger licking good day.
turning down her portion.
You did not. You did not.
Bitch, that's not the worst thing I've said by a long shot on this show.
No, but I almost didn't catch that. Kentucky Fried Corpse. Oh God. Okay.
So she initially turns down her portion, but 24 hours of further starvation, which really quickly, one day, that seems like a very short time to hold out on eating a guy you were like waltzing about on deck with a few days ago. But then again, this is the Atlantic midwinter. The elements are going to get you if your body doesn't have fuel.
True.
But 24 hours, here's the deal, Bethany, and I'm going to make you this deal right now. I want you to know my promise to you, I would try to make it a full 2 hours before I said, what the hell, and swallowed a chunk of your thigh.
Yeah.
If we found ourselves in this situation.
Just lots and lots of napping. Like,
right? But
like-
then, somebody may take a wild eye, think you're fucking dead.
no, like that's what I'm saying. Like if it was you and me, I would be like, all right, I'm just gonna assume. Even if I don't feel a pulse, I think I'm gonna wait still. Like she may just be like conserving her heartbeats. I don't know.
Well, I'm not gonna let your meat turn, but I'm really gonna try to fucking hold out before I'm just like, well, it's been a day and I'm a little hungry, so why not munch on the human jerky?
Yeah. Oh my God. Do the jerk. Do the jerk. God.
This is not even close, Bethany, to where this story bottoms out. Okay. So Anne accepts her portion, eats some John, but as she is gnawing away at some rump roast, she starts to notice a shift, if you will, in the group dynamic. Now, you don't fucking say, Anne. You don't say.
Yep.
Eating your fellow passengers is the point that you earmark for the trip having taken a turn.
Devour like a Vegas buffet. Like that was that not enough?
Right. It's so funny from like an 1826 perspective of writing. You don't fucking say, and the group dynamic switched up a little bit. Oh,
Room like human? Like, did she all of a sudden have an awakening and like trip and be like, oh my God?
I fell into this human meat in my mouth, right? Like, I would say that the group dynamic is probably going to shift a little bit, my darling.
Well,
Oh,
duh. Because,
duh.
I mean, think about it. You're sitting around, you're munching on John, who you dined with, you danced with, you might have went down to the cabin with on the first night. Who knows? I'm just saying. And now you're munching on him and you're looking around to your fellow people and you're like, who's next?
Exactly. And quote from Anne, we eyed each other with mournful and melancholy looks. Well, no shit, sweet Anne. You're grocery shopping at this point.
Great value or premium?
This is butcher shop quality, man. They're hacking it straight off the bone.
It's like, and then it gets to be like a whole nother level of Survivor. You're totally right, because now it's like you don't want to pick off the weakest link. You want to find somebody that's median and will last you a while.
Right? Like, hope it's Timothy next. He's a chubby fucker, and I wouldn't say no to a little marbling on my steak. Like, that is where we're at.
Like, you're right. Now that she's taken a bite, her gears have shifted and kicked into like, nobody's eating me, but I'm eating you.
Nobody's eating it, but I'm going to eat you. Tim, I'm coming for you next. You're well marbled, son. You've been working on a lifetime of marbling.
Just think about that Susie over there. She's got some big old knockers. That'll last.
That'll last. Plus, I can use her tit as an empty bag for water consumption. You know, you never know. You never know. Of course, the group dynamic has changed, Anne.
Use the human skin to filter the seawater for some purifier. I don't know.
Like Roger Smith style, make yourself a jacket and like keep out of the sun. There are so many possibilities now.
Oh,
And
it's cold too, real cold.
oh god, yeah, and it's cold as fuck. You could slice this person open like a tauntaun from Star Wars and crawl inside of it, fucking Luke and Han style. There are so many possibilities.
Feel like you're about to pass out, just take a quick lick, rehydrate, refuel, and then go back to sleep. That's what I'm saying. Find
Right?
your body, climb in, and just eat from the outside in.
He was sweating before he died. The electrolytes alone can't be ignored. Use him as a human salt lick. Of course the dynamic changes, bitch.
Right?
God.
They go through it. Like I'm not because unless I'm actually in that situation, I don't know. But I'm just saying, like the thought of it makes me want to literally, like I don't even know.
I don't know. But let me tell you, if I'm at a point that I think I need it to eat a human, all my fucking shit's going out the window. I'm about to get real. Which surprisingly Anne does also. So people start dropping like flies. When Sailor Moore dropped dead of exposure, they fell on his fatty liver like it was foie gras and took the heart for good measure. Which they're just freestyling now, right?
Rituals now, like
they're freestyling at this point.
Yeah, they really are.
Because the heart's like a hunk of muscle. Right. Are they like trying to take his spirit? Or what's the impetus there? Like the liver, I get it's fatty, it's full of all kinds of shit you can take. It's also not cooked and full of toxins, but whatever.
You're just plumping yourself up for the next person to feed on.
Right? But like they really start to freestyle there, I feel like. Oh, let's go straight for the liver and the heart. Like, what the fuck, y'all?
Like no calf, no like, bicep. Like
apparently they got all of their hangups out of the way with the first corpse. Now they're really into it. So
wait, hold on. That makes me wonder, is the heart really that tasty at that point? I mean,
I don't think it's tasty. Really well, think about it, because it's really muscly and it's very gristly, so you've really got to tear and chew. Although it may be softer to eat than muscle mass. I don't know. I've never eaten a human or an unbutchered animal or like a freshly butchered raw animal.
Well, then wouldn't they go for the brain then as well?
Oh, I mean,
school, right?
Bethany.
Oh,
wait for it. Wait for it.
Brainstorming. I'm kind of like picture this moment, like.
Wait for it. Oh my God. We are not to the low point yet. So Henry David and John Jones expire promptly after Seaman Moore. Rather timely, followed almost immediately by a handful. She describes it as a handful of cabin boys.
Like, okay,
so, hold on. It's a full-fledged feast now.
Right. A handful. Like she can grab handfuls of
No, I'm thinking more than two, because few or a couple, we're talking two or three, but she says a handful, which
So
indicates to me more like, let's say five. Let's
Okay.
say 4 to 5 cabin
Okay.
boys. So they've got an abundance of corpses.
I mean, that is,
Um,
like you have they not tried like cooking any of it, like starting a fire?
well,
Oh,
they
they're
can't.
still, right?
They're
Yeah.
balanced on the portion of a boat that is above the sea still. You don't want to set a fire on a wooden boat.
No. Yeah, sorry. I had a momentary lapse in judgment. Like, how are they going to the bathroom? Like,
You
are they?
gotta, oh, they're just pissing and shitting themselves and off the side of the boat. I can only imagine. I don't know. That was apparently a bridge too far for Anne to describe. So like I said, we're in full-fledged feast mode now.
I'm sorry.
So
it's
it's gone real Game of Thrones at this point. So
hold on. I'm just saying, like, she can describe all of this, but she can't tell you where they pooped or peed.
well, sense and sensibility. What are you gonna do?
Sorry, continue.
That was apparently a bridge too far. She left that up to her imagination. Now, Anne remarks that one of them died raving mad, crying out lamentably. Well, Anne, based on the circumstances, do you think that he's going to go peacefully in his sleep?
I mean,
He knows you're all about to feast upon him.
yeah.
I mean, guys, this is really a hell of a read. I encourage everyone to do all the work I did to track it down. I'll pop up a link or what the writing is in the show notes so you can track it down yourselves. But Bethany, the story is about to get more fun.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Now, our sea-bound Donner Party here has another problem.
19 now, 15, daughter party of 15.
Well done. Well done. So,
what number are we at? Because I think how many?
I can't be sure exactly because we only have a handful. I don't know an exact count at this point, but we'll know a count of who ultimately survived in our 15. You can do the math from 21 from there. So, several barrels of water were saved along with the biscuits.
Okay.
But now these had run dry. And if you thought starvation was a bitch, prepare yourself for the dehydration portion of the voyage, Bethany.
That's one thing. That's actually one of my weaknesses. I have a weakness. If I went to the new level Jumanji, my weakness would be lack of water. Because when I get dehydrated or overheated and I do not get enough water, I will literally start to, I mean, my whole body will just, I have to get in a cold shower to try and get my body temperature down. I have to drink tons and tons of water. Otherwise I get like a headache.
Yes, I get it. So now prepare yourself for the portion of the story that is the unsexiest version of True Blood that was ever imagined.
Oh my god. Okay.
The survivors aren't just crowding around the dying waiting to eat them now. They are just barely letting people expire before they are slitting the throats of the deceased in order to suck the blood from them the second they breathe their last.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess they're slightly waiting.
At least they, according to this narrative, let everybody expire. And then as soon as they breathe their last, then start drinking blood because they have no water.
Okay, hold on. Let me ask you this. Would you rather slowly die or just have somebody end it?
Oh, if I'm like going out and I'm definitely not going to make it back, fucking kill me.
Yeah, slice it. Please drink my blood and eat my meat. Never thought
Right? Like, I'm done. I'm not going to sit here and just wait around with you all looking at me like a pack of hyenas.
Yeah, I don't want to be clawed to death. Like, please slice me up. Like, have a nice feast.
Slit my fucking throat, butcher me raw, draw me up in the ropes, drink from me. I don't care at this point anymore. It's pretty clear I'm not going to make it.
Make a face mask. I don't give a shit. Use my skin as a protector barrier, like for warmth at this point.
Right? Exactly. I don't care. Just let me off of this, like,
Get me
shithole island. But wait, Bethany.
Oh God, there's more.
This gets, for
more.
our purposes, this gets better. And for Anne, much worse. Then Anne notices a further change in her fellow passengers, which again, you don't say. We've gone from cannibalism to vampirism, like overnight. Her best girlfriend aboard. Do you remember her best girlfriend, Miss Kendall, wife of the captain? She's just, yeah, she's still alive. She's just sitting there shoveling down a handful of sailor brains one afternoon. She chomps down the last of it and declares to anyone listening that her fistful of brain was, quote, the most delicious thing she had ever tasted. So now they're in the spirit of it, right? Like lemons make lemonade scenario here.
Well, think about it, Jess. You've done the liver, the heart, the brain. Like, that is ritualistic. Hello.
And it's literally for your survival. Like, I can hear the Jumanji drums beating, right? Like, let's face it, that's what it would be like. Oh, God. Fuck. This is one of the more horrible things I've ever talked about.
I'm not laughing because I think it's like great.
I'm laughing because it's so awful.
It really is.
But she's also starving. She's been eating heart and shit. I'm sure, like, brain matter, you're like, fuck, this is pretty good. Like, why have we not been cracking skulls like coconuts this entire time, folks?
And think about it. By this point, they've had a few humans, so their brains have like shifted into like probably juicy animal. I don't know. They're just.
I mean, there are cases that indicate scientifically. I mean, you get diseases from it. It can change your brain capacity. There's some scientific explanations for this, other than we humans are not that far from our animal ancestors. But Bethany,
Push comes to shove, what are we going to do? We are going.
exactly. This is why high-handedness in history is absolutely silly to me, because this is 1826, and if you don't think this would happen right now in 2020, you're out of your fucking mind.
Right. And if when the world ends and you're sitting alone, yeah, how are you going to survive? I'm just saying. Yeah. Honestly,
there you go.
And I'm done. Out. That's just me.
You know, I didn't get enough fresh eggs, and I thought for a minute my neighbor over to the east, his brains are starting to look pretty good. No, I'm kidding.
Damn it, I'm out of milk.
Damn it.
Sounds good.
You know what would be great on my cereal? About a pint of human blood. All right. Okay. You feeling me? But this gets worse.
Of course
it does. The next day is a really rough one for Anne. James Fryer dies. A man who had been an ardent admirer of our little Anne. So much so that he proposed to Anne Saunders in the horrible days immediately following the storm that landed her in the middle of this insane survival movie.
Okay, so he proposed to her before the storm or after the storm?
After. She knew that he'd been an admirer, and the second, that all the walls of society fall down. Shit. Will you marry me? Of fucking course I will. Like, if we get out of this.
Right.
Very, survivor, whatever. So
Oh, she escaped that one.
the initial shit that landed her in this mess where they're eating corpses and drinking human blood. And by the way, guys, you just thought like movies Deliverance, 127 Hours were rough watches. This is a way worse read. Way worse. Of course, Anne had said yes to the dress, accepting James and vowing to get hitched the second they made it out of this living hell and were back on English soil.
Okay.
Whatever gets you through, I guess, because I don't feel like that's a good basis for a marriage. You remember when we ate those people together, honey?
Like, can you imagine, like, whoever eats humans together stays together? We should make
Outside of you, we should. Whoever eats humans together stays together. Oh, Jesus. Again, whatever gets you through. Unless, of course, there's a fairly good chance one of you is going to end up eating the other.
Honey, if we make out of this alive together, we will be so happy. Oh, I guess it'll just be me.
But if not, I promise you my corpse and my blood. You know, for the eating and the drinking. Yeah.
Like, only you can eat my corpse, nobody else.
It's almost like one of those restaurants where you go and you get to pick out the animal that you're gonna eat. That's what Anne did.
Like a lobster. Remember when that was a thing at Red Lobster? I don't know if it is, but
I don't know if it is. I haven't been to a Red Lobster except for maybe twice in my life.
well, it was a big Kansas Midwest thing to have some sort of fresh
Frozen seafood, as if I would.
I think that's kind of sweet. If it was you and me, like you had discussed, I think I would be like, and we were with a group of people, like, I don't know.
I'd be very glad for you. I would be like, Bethany gets to drink my corpse first, take the best portions, let her have my human foie gras. Like, let her have my liver.
Them. I would just say no. She only gets only her. I can only allow her. You know what I mean? Like, I would be said that I would be that selfish. Like, all you bitches starved. Fuck all you hoes.
I expect you to go at me as if you are Eric Northman and in the midst of a feeding frenzy. You and you alone.
I'll just put a bib on and get
I
it
almost said something so fucking horrible. I'm so glad I didn't. Fuck, I stopped myself. Sorry, viewers. That one stays in my brain. So this is food for thought. Should you ever find yourself in a similar situation, guys, it bears thinking about. So James slipped into unconsciousness and almost immediately after had the good taste, if you will, to promptly die.
Oh, yay. Nice.
Yay! So Anne, genteel young lady and lover that she is, resigns herself to having him for dinner, rather literally, I am afraid, in this case.
What?
Yeah, she immediately falls on him too. No hesitation.
Wow.
Gobble, gobble. Drinky, drinky.
Ooh.
And, quote, so far reduced by hunger and thirst, finds she simply must, quote, suck the blood as it oozed half congealed from the wound inflicted upon his lifeless body. No one in the world has an engagement story quite like Anne's. I'll give her that.
Adam, have you
never been engaged before. Oh, yes, sir, I was, but he died, and then I sucked his blood from an inflicted wound. So I
Then
could...
I promptly sucked him dry vampire style and consumed his corpse as if I were a werewolf, sir. What a
Probably
fucking conversation starter.
He probably thought suck him dry meant something different.
In Anne's case, she means quite literally.
But he
Woo!
no.
Sweet Jesus. I told you we were going to have a lot of fun with this one. I'm crying.
Wait, tell me. I don't
So-
know what else to do.
I don't either, because it's a very uncomfortable tale, right? More of the crew keels over following James Fryer's demise, bringing the number of survivors to just 6.
Okay. Damn.
Finally, a vessel is spotted on the horizon in the form of the HMS Blonde to find our survivors barely managing to survive, because now they're weak as fuck. You know, there are no more corpses. They're waiting for 6 to go to 5. They're thirsty and they're hungry. But man alive, or rather dead, does the captain of the Blonde go, what the fuck?
My
When
God.
it becomes immediately apparent to him how exactly the survivors of the Mary Frances had survived.
Could you imagine rolling up and like, oh my God, that's a ship. Let's go save those people. What the?
Especially following the next thing I have to say. The captain is completely grossed out when he sees strips of human flesh left to dry like so much human jerky hung from the ship's ropes with care.
Oh my God, it's like the old, when, air dry, like the laundry, taking it out on the rope outside to hang out to dry.
Yeah,
God,
only it's human pieces of flesh. Can you imagine? Fucking rolling up on this noise.
my God.
And then there's just human flesh laid over all the ropes and rigging that are still surviving. And then like these gaunt, sunken-eyed, like their mouths are probably covered in blood, because I doubt they've got the energy to get up and wash it off anymore. They're bloody.
They probably look like the Hobbit. Not the Hobbit, that little creepy looking thing from the Hobbit.
Gollum.
Whatever. Yeah, the thing with the where it's
Gollum slash Schmeagol. Yes.
like, whatever.
That is the theme.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm not the nerd in that, but I do know of it and I've seen it, and it's like,
In this case, the one true ring is human flesh and blood.
shit. Brain.
Can you imagine
What?
rolling the fuck up on this scene going, my God.
Oh my God, I literally am having a little bit of pushback in my throat right now.
Yeah, you can feel it. What does it say about me that I am gleefully enjoying this story?
Oh God, I'm like being tormented right now by my
Ooh, imagination, the power of imagination, the more you know, folks. Cannibals or not, he takes some serious pity on the group. Good man, glass houses and all that. He can't say he wouldn't do the same. Rescuing the ragtag bunch of man-eaters from the remains of the Frances Mary.
She's a man eater.
Bum, ba, bum, 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 ba. I don't know why I have La Maasai in my head, but that's what's going. That's what's going.
It does say a lot about a person. Could you have done that, Jessica? I know.
Fuck yeah.
Empathy if I had shown up and been like, even though grossed out, like obviously these people have been here a while.
But
You
I
said-
would immediately understand. Like I said, glass houses. This is a hardened seaman. You know, he's a sailor. He knows, like, push comes to fucking shove. Human nature is human nature. He's been on boats. You know, he's a captain. He's done this his whole life.
Right. So I scrolled back up because I wanted to see. I know that you pointed out the first person to die was the 12th of February, but when did the ship actually, or do you have that information, or you just know the actual death of the first person?
Do you mean the wreck? It occurred the first day of February.
First day of February, and then the first person.
First person dies, they still had food. The second person to die, I don't have the exact date. Now he is the first corpse that is cannibalized.
Okay, so either way, your February is a short. I'm sorry, I'm trying to think. February is a short month. 50 pounds. I mean, yeah,
Among 21 people, that's not going to last long.
last, and then you have the first set that's 20, and then coincidentally, by the time the last ration's the last person, okay. So now you're
Mhm.
19, and then 18, 17, damn, and then a handful of your boys, okay. So I'm trying to do the math.
They spaced it pretty well, I will say. No,
we-
I do not have the date that the HMS Blonde came upon them.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was,
Um,
okay.
I'm sure it was there, but the way that I bullet pointed this narrative, apparently I did not include it, and I could not tell you off the top of my head.
That's okay. That's okay. It was a rando crow. I'm just trying to figure out.
It's a
Could
good
I
and rando question.
I guess I'm trying to think, could I have survived this long? Like, if I'm thinking of how long, when did the crash happen and I survived that, and then I watched the people around me, and I'm Anne, and at first I didn't eat a person, but then I did.
Well, think about this. This is a woman that has
Been
the
spoken-
sensibilities of a genteel, well-bred woman in 1826.
Well,
The
she's-
most excitement she's ever had is her ankle slipped out during a garden party, and now she's cannibalizing the fuck. So if she could do it, I have full faith that you could do it.
We've been through some fucking shit, okay? If she can do that and all she did was show some fucking ankle, then I'm pretty sure I could survive too. Okay.
Oh yeah, it's not
it was-
vastly that far of a slip.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, I'm trying to be like, all right, bitch, hold on. If this not prude, of course not, she's not. I'm just saying, if she
You
can
don't
do
have to ask me, gun to my head. Yes, I would absolutely do this to survive.
it, okay.
I'm the survivalist first, like genteel lady dead last. So the blonde arrives in England in April of 1826.
So not like it says April. So anytime in April, or
Now, I don't know. It doesn't say. I'm sure it did. I did not earmark it. I put April of 1826. But nonetheless, we're talking about 8 weeks. And I'm sorry, guys, I don't have the exact date that the blonde rolled up on her. I
mean-
would have to read it again. And I'm not sure that if I didn't include it, I don't feel like Anne probably included it. Does that make sense?
yeah, because of course it's 1826.
Yes, and this is also very much a first person narrative in which she's talking about the experience of when they're actually, chomping down on folk. And I'm sure that if I did not include it, it's probably included in the women and children first. Again, I apologize. I got very excited describing this story.
Either way, while you were talking, I did do a Google of 6. Even if you were to go February 1st of 1826, that was a Wednesday. You had 28 days. You had all of March. which is 31 days. So you're looking at 28 and 31. You've got what?
I'm going to say they had to find them at the end of, they had to find them toward the end of February for 6 people to have survived.
Yeah, and that's at the end of
And
February.
then about a month more of sea voyage, makes sense.
Well, no, because they arrived in England. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get, but still, 28 days to eat that many people, that's a lot. I'm sorry.
Not really spread them out because the group got smaller and smaller, right? That was quite a few people to begin with.
So how long did ration? Oh, obviously February 12th. They went through
No,
ration.
for a little further past February 12th, because they buried the first guy, respectably at sea. So I'm going to say 2 weeks. But think about it. You can't drink the human blood to avoid dying of dehydration for very long. The blood coagulates. You've got lividity. Like they've done a hell of a job surviving.
Right. For some reason, I'm trying to do the math on this. I don't know why, but I guess I'm trying to put it in perspective of what were they thinking? Like, what?
I want to live. That's it. That's the beginning and ending.
I guess time does feel non-existent when you're in a situation like that too.
Plus, you're having to go through nights in the mid-Atlantic, clinging to whatever remains above the, like, you've got the span of day, but you don't know the exact time. Like, shit, concepts like linear time immediately lose meaning in certain situations, and I feel like this is probably one.
Yeah. No, you're true. You're
Ugh.
right. I'm just trying to, like, me, I like to put myself in the proximity or the situation just to try to understand or get a grasp on, would I succumb? Would I do that? Like, if I could, and how long would I wait? Because you had said Anne did. She waited
24 hours, but you're exposed to the elements. Your body needs to have nutrients in order to attempt to keep itself warm. All your shit's been lost except for the clothes on your back. You're soaked in seawater, and it's midwinter in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean.
So, like, give me a degrees on that, because apparently my geography is, I get it mid.
So
winter.
you're going from New Brunswick, Canada to Liverpool, England. So you're sailing quite a ways north.
Oh, God. Maybe I'm like, again, I did not pass geography.
I don't know. I can't even, I mean, we're talking freezing temperatures at the very least. Probably below that.
Probably. I don't know. I'm going to assume either way, to be stuck at sea in the first place is not something that I even want to think about at all. Oh, God.
We're talking cold.
Cold. Sorry, I looked it up. Don't judge
Think
me.
about where Liverpool is positioned, and then you're going from New Brunswick, Canada to Liverpool. You're up in the North Sea territory. It's very, very cold. Like, I don't judge these people at all. Like, I'm surprised they survived.
Right. In 3 days, they're literally out in the middle of nowhere by that point.
Yeah. Mid-Atlantic, by pure chance, did this vessel come along to even save them.
They didn't even have any castaway crap like this. He didn't have anything.
No, there's no island until you get to the big ass one called, Ireland at that rate, or lower, like, British Isles.
Okay, so it'd be like, imagine if the Titanic didn't sink.
Yeah.
But
Jack got fucking lucky not being on that door. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. But literally imagine if the ship had not broken off and sank like it did, but instead was in the position as this one did.
there wouldn't be 21 survivors. You're talking like hundreds.
Well, the whole crew survived the initial storm, which is also amazing. But also that level of cold that we're talking about in that movie.
Oh,
and
yeah. I
I'm
guess-
not going to say that movie. In fact, that level of cold survived by Titanic, survivors. That's the level of cold we're dealing with.
Yeah.
Exactly. So they're picked up by the blonde. They finally get there in April of 26. But imagine this. They spent some great amount of time recovering aboard the blonde. Can you imagine the fucking locked cabin doors once that group was aboard the vessel?
No.
It's like they may take a hankering for a midnight snack and I may wake up and they're just fucking munching on me, like it's Dawn of the Dead. You don't know. Oh my God. So Anne has, of course, is mentally fucked up as you can get for a little bit.
No shit.
But she is, and this is the point of what we were discussing, super grateful to have survived the nightmare voyage that killed 15 of her fellow passengers and ship's crew. But Anne being Anne, she was surprisingly stoic about it to the end, up to and including the bit about eating her fiance. In Anne's words, I think that I witnessed more of the heavy judgments and afflictions of this world than any other of its female inhabitants, she said. Now, I don't know about that, but I got to hand it to Anne. Like, well said.
Yeah.
Well said, my lady. I don't know. I think there are probably things worse than eating your fiance to survive that happened to women in the world in 1826. But to the genteel Anne, it was far beyond her imagination. So I'll give it to her. Well said, my lady.
At least raped and, murdered and then consumed. She was spared and she was given his body.
That's those poor bitches on Whitechapel and their whole row, like hard row leading up to that. If they feel the same about you having had to eat a couple fellas, that's what I'm saying. That's the fun thing about this, though. History is all about perspective, and also this is why I never judge a single historical figure's actions, because one, if it happened today, do not think that any of us are above it.
Yeah.
No matter what our morals and our senses and what our sensibilities may be, you can be the most liberal, forward-thinking human being on the earth, but you're going to eat a motherfucker if it's you or dead.
Yeah, because you could sit there till you're blue in the face saying, I would never. Heck no. But when you're
shit, eat or be eaten, literally.
eat or be, isn't that on like a Disney movie? Eat or be eaten? I'm pretty sure.
No, I was thinking more of a Darwinistic sense, but I'm sure it is somewhere. That seems like a very Walt Disney-esque thing to promote.
But it is
But
true.
the-
Like, about it.
You
Like,
can't judge an historical figure to a right now in your fucking living room watching Amazon standard. It's absolutely ridiculous. And the same thing can be said of our very much a lady Anne in this case. I don't judge her. I would absolutely have eaten. That's what I'm saying. Putting not only historical figures and historical precedents in today's lens is ridiculous and a huge waste of your fucking time and absolutely nonsensical. Like, obviously today we wouldn't do some of the things that we used to do. We're a forward, modern, liberal thinking society. But that said, if you're in this circumstance, I don't care how fucking enlightened you think you are,
Well, see, and that's probably why I was asked, and maybe I was trying to justify, like, oh, I could wait longer. But even then, if I think about it, I can't even go through the night without having a glass of
A
water.
glass of water. Exactly.
Like, I get
That
up.
is why you don't get to judge people in situations, and you don't get to judge people in historical situations. That was kind of the point I was tracking down, picking this subject and this story.
Like, yeah, you're right. Because even though I'm grossed out, like, I'm not gonna lie, obviously I did a lot of gagging in this portion. But me on the outside, and of course I know I asked lots of questions about, well, what was the actual timeline? Could we wait 7 to 8? I would have done. I will admit that I would have
Exactly what she did.
exactly, yeah, like what she literally did was wait, as she even watched others do it and sat to the side, knowing that their tummies were technically full and hers was not. She proceeded to try and say
And
no.
that is our hyper moralistic Christian Anne, like
Yeah.
she, in a way, we've replaced religion with moral superiority in the
But
world that we live in. But look, the
kicks-
second that survivalism kicks in, woo, that's all out the window.
And I guess I feel like if you're at least not riddled with disease or going crazy or mad, your survival mode is what
Surviving.
keeps the reality of it. I think that's why Anne, even though she dove in to eat her fiance, I feel like when she says, and I do like the quote that she says is like, back, oh gosh, I'm gonna scroll back up because you said it when she dove in. Said that,
Oh, do you mean the I think that I witness more of the heavy judgments and afflictions of this world than any other of its female inhabitants?
that's a good one, but no, it's so far reduced by hunger and thirst. She finds simply must, quote, suck the blood as it oozes. And I remember thinking, oh my God, like I was laughing, making jokes. But when I think about it, like she even admits, like, look, I knew what I was doing. I wasn't losing my mind. I knew what I had to do, even though he had confessed, he would have been true to me and loved me, and I could have had children and white picket fence. I knew that with his death, I still dove in and took on the survival mode. And I know I made jokes, but thinking on it now, I'm like, damn. That's
a very profound statement, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I ask all of us when we look through the lens of history. When we look at our neighbors through the decisions they make, whether they be economic or socioeconomic decisions, whatever, you don't know until you're in that exact position what you have to do to survive. Now, it may be an upscale version of that. It may be paycheck to paycheck version of that. It doesn't matter. None of us gets to judge and tell somebody else how to be and how to survive, because until you're in it, you do not know.
Moral of everybody's story. Seriously.
Hooray! So we've correlated history to current events in the most surface way possible, which is all we strive to do on this show. In the meantime, I'm sure I could get out my book of lectures and give you 27 on this very thing, but I'm not gonna, because it fucking sucks. And that's not what we do here.
Right. And a perfect message during this crucial time in the history of the present. So remember,
you don't know. You don't know what you do, nor
So-
do you know what you would do 100 years in the past, 50 years in the past. We cannot put a modern lens on history. Furthermore, we cannot put our own lens on our neighbors' lives. It's ridiculous.
way. I had to learn that the hard way when we did the Romanovs with the whole I had to remind you, not I had to, you had to remind me, like, yes, but we are not in modern thinking. We are fortunate to live in modern times and not.
And I get a lot of questions like that. And then I get a lot of questions that relate to current events along those same themes. And I think it's absolutely ridiculous to judge somebody in 1778 by the standard of 2020. If you were doing that, I'm going to tell you right now, you're a fucking idiot.
Well,
And I mean that from the depths of my heart.
but see, I am then an idiot because I immediately pull to that. It's things where I'm like,
And I immediately pointed out to you, you were an idiot.
and I have to shamelessly hang my head and go, all right, we're not in.
This isn't 2020.
We're not in 1999. We're in 1765. So I'm like, damn it. Okay, you're right.
And we also have to admit that as shitty as 2020 has been,
Yeah.
it's not 1775.
Yeah, and we still don't have to, like, as women, we can
Like,
actually.
and we can just do whatever. I have to remind myself that when I get like super fucking, oh my God, I hate 2020. I hate my life. And I'm like, well, you know what? At least it ain't 1775.
where we didn't even matter.
Yeah. It'd be a long time till we got to vote. In fact, the 20th century. So, like, the closing message is, yeah, 2020 sucks, but it ain't that bad.
It's not 1826.
Jesus, right?
Five.
We can fly in an airplane. At least that crashes and it ends fucking quickly. Like, oh God. It's horrific. The fun of history. So we are spoiled. Like I said, it's the most surface correlation to history that we could possibly make. I know it's childish. I know it's silly. But if you're that academic, this is probably not the fucking show for you. Or quite frankly, if you're that uppity, this is probably not the show for you. So that does it for us this week. Guys, go and check out Patreon if you want to, watch. We're not recording things live currently, but what we are doing is something really, really cool that Bethany works very, very hard on, and I join her from time to time on these. They are actually doing, if you follow us on social media, you know that Bethany churns out a ton of On This Day in Histories, #OTDs, pertaining to body counts, which is super cool. But now Patreon, she's putting out a 3-time-a-week series in which she does like 20 minutes at a time, kind of walking us through her favorite On This Day in History's / body count stuff of that day. And it's really, really cool. And I encourage everybody to go check it out. Sometimes you can watch her or us doing it. Sometimes you can't, but it's always there and the information is great. So it's patreon.com/body count.
It's free. And I just want to say that if you are watching it and you like it, please say something. Message me, message Jessica. You can comment on our Patreon. Just let me know that you actually, because I don't know. We're it's different than our episodes. We don't know if it's,
yeah, I will say I've not gotten a message one on it, so assume you're doing well, because
cool.
I get plenty of hate. So I think silence is probably the best policy based on what my inbox is full of. Now, again, like Bethany said, we post those for free. So anybody can go there. Anybody can take 20 minutes of their day to learn the most basic, like, fun, whatever happened that day in history. No, I don't mean basic in your presentation. They're not long. I mean like episodes. They're quick, compact presentation, 20 minutes of what happened today in history. You can listen to it, you know, at your computer while you're doing work. It's super, super easy.
And here's the
You
thing.
can go
Oh,
ahead.
Here's the thing about it is what I have learned from taking over the On This Day in History series aspect is that a lot of people die every day in history, and I only touch upon a small fraction, and there's only so much I can say on social media, but when I get a chance to actually speak about it, it becomes kind of eye-opening.
I think it comes alive. I think it kind of it really brings a flavor to those On This Day in History, which you don't really get anywhere else. You know, everybody from the History Channel to like Dan Snow is really excited to tell you on this day or include a photo and whatever. But Bethany actually breaks it down for us. Usually 3 events, 3 figures, something that's, you know, it's not super in depth, but it's enough to more than, you know, what's your taste. But you don't have to go and Google it after listening to Bethany, which I think is a big, you know, a big favor to those of us that just don't have the time. You could just pop it on and listen, which I think is absolutely great. Now you can listen. Wait, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and I do want to give this small tidbit. When I get an outline from Jessica on the episode, I don't do any research. I am one of those people that likes to be surprised because I don't know much about history. It's the same kind of concept with On This Day in History series. I will find like maybe a small summary. Oh, a shipwreck was ran over. 400 people died. Interesting.
Well, how did that happen? What's the basis?
Yeah, that's the basis. I'm going to figure out more when I record. So I am actually going through an event like truly a non-historian finding out information for the first time. So whereas maybe if you're listening to it and you are caught, oh, I know all about this event, you're going to hear me get like, wait a minute, hold on.
But you get to experience with Bethany as a person that's never heard it. So you will have that warm, superior feeling of being a person who knows something and still be able to enjoy it.
Well, yes, that's what I go for.
It's fantastic. So we are available wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. I believe we'll even be on Amazon soon. Just search Body Count or listen to us at our website, which, by the way, we are updating and really working on. You'll actually be able to read scripts that I write or other pieces on bodycounthistorypod.com. Do us a favor. Just tell one person you know about us if you love the show. Just one person. You can grab our merchandise at bigheadsmedia.com. Click the history tab, and we are right there. The first thing you see. Again, that's probably going to change once we get to work on the website. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Body Count Pod. Again, Bethany posts On This Day in History body counts daily, drops 3 or 4 little fun body counts on both platforms, plus the 3 times a week she actually does these live, you know, On This Day body counts.
Well,
so be sure to follow us for news and additional little tidbits. Bethany, please tell people where they can find and follow you.
you can find me literally anywhere because I'm like totally famous. Just kidding. No, but for real, that you can find me on Twitter at Bethany Skelton 5. That's the number 5. And then on Instagram at Bethany RN24. I do run all of our Twitter handles on Body Count Pod. So if you have, but here's the thing, and I'm going to stress this: if you have questions about promotions or exchanging
information or advertising, anything like that, please direct it at me.
Remember, if you have hate as well, just
You have hate as well directed at me. I am more than happy. History questions, direct those at me. If it is not a social media question, it comes at me.
exactly. And where can they send that information to?
They can send that information to Jessica Manor, Manor, like the house, not the behavior. Jessica Manor at bodycountpod.com. You can also DM me or follow me on both Twitter and Instagram at Jessica B as in Bravo Manor. Again, Manor, like the house, not the behavior. Jessica B Manor. So
I did want to actually throw in a tidbit. When you do search us on the internet, as Jessica likes to call it, you make sure you search Body Count Podcast. Okay, that is a Indeed word to look out for because
so many reasons. Body Count Podcast. Body Count Podcast. Do search us. If you throw us in, if you run to the old Google copter, be sure to tag the podcast on the end. However, if you are already in, like, say, Apple Podcasts, just put Body Count, but it'll also come up for Body Count Podcast. We're there. We're easily findable, but maybe don't just search Urban Dictionary words. For God's sakes, I wish I'd have picked a different name, but it's done now. It's done now.
Maybe one of our episodes will be our history of our Urban Dictionary body count.
Oh, sweet Jesus. That does it for us, guys. We're going to be back at you hopefully next week. I don't know. I have to go home. Bethany and I are going to play it by ear. But after that, we've got a lot of treats coming up for you. I've been buried under fucking research, and I am ready to wrap my lips around a cold barrel. It's been hell, but here we are to the other side of it. So we will see you guys hopefully next week. If not, I do not anticipate another break in broadcasting from that point forward. So we loved it. It was fun. We will talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.